Yeah, so we aroha mai for being so late. The only way we can kia tau te wairua is go straight into a karakia, I think. I'll share that in a second. Actually, would someone else like to do a karakia, and we'll just work through our other karakia after that? Who's got a karakia to start us off with while you prepare our other karakia to learn?
One tonight.
If not, we can do another karakia together.
You can do whakataka te hou, but that's it. Is that all right for opening?
Oh, not for this particular one, but we can talk about that actually.
Okay.
Kai aha te tahi.
Tēnā koe.
E honora he krori he mai ngā rongo ki rungi te whenua I whakaro pai ki nā tāna takatua āmine. Whakamoemiti nei mātou ki a koe I hua mo mana ki tana ki runga I a mātou. I aroha mai ki o mātou henga, noi kore tana pū mai tia mai to aroha nui ki runga I a mātou. Tēnei kia inoa te runga I te ingoa te matua te tama me te wairua tapu. Kroria ki tō ingoa tapu. Āmine.
Āmine. Tēnā koe rapua. Mihi atu ki a koe tēnei kia tingata pai te Wānanga nei. E neo ngā kupu ka hanga I tēnei tarawhiti ki te atua. Hei whakamoemiti, hei whakahonua anō tātou nei I tō tātou nei kaihanga I raro I tēnei te korowai o te aroha. Mauri ora. Mauri ora kia tātou. We are going to start off with actually something around puoro, which is a vibration around karakia. So I prepared something last week that I didn't quite get through, but I'm going to start off there today. And I've got a nice little movie about Hine Pū Te Hue that some of you might have seen, but it might be nice to share here online for the others to see as well. Just to finish off our kōrero from last week too. Tēnā tātou katoa. Okay, so what we have here is, here we go, here's my needle board here. We're going to go now into a little bit around this thing called te whē. We're going to do this little karakia here, which a lot of people know about this karakia, and some of you this might be quite new. Okay, so we're going to go, this karakia is called ko te pū, te more, te weu, te aka, te rea, te wānui, te kune, te whē, te kore, te pō. And the last part of this is another part that was added on. Ko ngā tangata Māori, nā rangi, rāua ko papa, ko tēnei te tīmatanga o te ao. Tihei, forget the wā, Māori ora. Tihei wā, Māori ora comes from actually Māori Marsden. So this part of the karakia here was derived from teachers of Māori Marsden who belonged to the whare Wānanga up here in Northland, up in Hokianga, up Taitokoro ways, and he was a member of a whare Wānanga, which is traditional Māori ways of knowing and being at a higher level. Now inside of that, this is talking about some of the inception of energy from a thought form going all the way to a realization. So it's like when you have a thought, you see a table, and you think, how did that table start? It started off as a design inside of somebody's head a long, long time ago. And there's a whole whakapapa around the designs of tables, but how they actually started off, they probably would have been, or who knows, they could have been rocks that people ate off first of all, but then they're designed to go to wood and into plastics and other type of materials. So te pū, and remember when we see te pū, how's that related to music?
Origin, like the vibrational origin, the center.
Kia ora, what's the word we use for music in Te Ao Māori?
Pūoro.
Pūoro. Pū. The origin. So we're talking about taonga pūoro. The word oro actually is a derivative and a whakapapa called te whē. Okay, so we've got the sound. So we've got from the origin, the seed, then becomes the taproot, the first part, then become the lateral roots, then the creeper vine, then the growth, then becomes the great woods of the forest and the conception form of the sound, the chaos, the void, the darkness to the people. Now, if we kind of follow scientifically maybe how this runs, it may not make much sense to us because we're not really talking about the physical forms here. We're talking about the how thought forms precede most of the things that we achieve in life. But when it becomes te whē is the primordial vibration of sound that creates all the other things. The oro that we hear is the oro that we can hear as humans. Do you understand that? Oro. Oro is what we capture as humans, but beyond that we have things called ultra frequencies, which we can't capture. That's now sitting in the realm of te whē, or te whē oro, if we want to break that kupu down to something, where it derives from, te whē oro. So te whē encompasses all of the sound, including the sounds that humans don't capture. Now, for those who are here inside of this hui right now, I don't know if you've ever read Bernie Krause's book, The Great Animal Orchestra. Bernie Krause, Krause, and I highly recommend any musician to read this book, The Great Animal Orchestra. And what it talks about is all of the collections of sounds that come from the animal kingdom, some from the plant kingdom, the human world as well, which we're in the animal kingdom as well, and how the soundscape, which he calls the biophony. We have symphony, this is biophony. The biophony is the collections of sounds of cicadas, bees, insects, mosquitoes, going up to the now more lower vibrations, right down to the sounds of such as elephants and giraffes. Now they are some of the, apart from whales, elephants and giraffes as land-dwelling animals make some of the lower vibrations. And he likens it to what an orchestra would make. So they are like the double basses, the timpani drums. The mosquitoes and the cicadas are sitting at the higher peak, like the piccolo trumpet or the violin or the viola, but more going actually up to even the higher notes. So this whole orchestra, really, the violin can easily make its signature sound with the double basses and be heard quite easy. But when you get a whole lot of violins together, it's quite hard for a single violin to be heard. We call that biophony in the natural world. As an example, the cicada itself, in his book he describes the cicada actually having 3 different sound signatures that he found. One was in the ultra frequencies that humans can't hear. One of them is in the very, very high frequencies, which are getting around 20K, which is where we naturally kind of hear up to. And then one comes in a lower frequency as well. And what cicadas do is that they compete with each other. And if humans are competing with an airport or any kind of machine kind of sounds, they will change their sound signature to compete and survive into any of those realms. So this beautiful thing, the biophony is dynamic. Where do we fit inside the biophony? Puoro is an expression inside of the biophony. I'll say that again, puoro is an expression inside of the biophony. Being on stages, playing in orchestras, is one expression of humans, but puoro is meant to interact with the taiao. Puoro is created to interact with the taiao, with the environment. Cool. So I'm just going to put that whakaaro out there. And we're just going to have a little talk amongst the rōpū now. Where in your life or in your musical journey have you interacted with your musicality inside of nature as a member now of the biophony? What does biophony mean to you? Ka pai? I'll just turn that over to you, and I'm just going to take a quick call now from these kids who want to go swimming and tell them the bad news. They're waiting for me. And I hand that first of all over to Priya. Kia ora, Priya.
Kia ora. Can we see people?
Yes, I'll just stop sharing. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Oh, that's such a beautiful way of thinking about it. So I think in terms of interacting with the environment, for me, it was through taonga puoro and through the experiences on Haititai Marangai Marae, where we made those for the first time. And I remember sitting on Wānanga in that first one, probably about 4 or 5 years ago now, and having spent ages sort of making the puoro out on the front of the marae, sanding and binding, and it was this, this really beautiful process, and I was so attached to this taonga that I'd made, and then when I went to play it, I couldn't get a sound out of it. I actually was really trying. I just tried so hard, and I think I got really in my head. And yeah, spent a long time trying to play it, and I didn't really get a decent sound out of it on that Wānanga, and the kids all around me were just playing theirs beautifully, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, supposed to be a musician, and I felt kind of imposter syndrome, and I think I just was just so focused and kind of probably heightened intentions and things trying to play it. And then when I got home, I took it out onto, we'd just moved house, and I took my puoro out onto the beach, which is just across the road from us, and it's a very open, wide, gravelly beach, no one around, and had a tutu, and I just, first time, it just played beautifully, and it was really amazing. I don't know why. I was just really relaxed, and it was just me and the space, and I was playing, and I was so excited. There was no one around to go, look, I got a sound. And as I played, I just was very aware of the environment, in a really heightened awareness, I think, of the environment around me. So I just felt really tuned in, plugged in a way, to the weather and the birds around me, and it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And I sort of felt the weather shift and that kind of thing. So it was, that was probably my first experience of really using the puoro to really connect to the environmental space around me.
Kia ora, Priya. I knew you'd have a good way of describing how you interact with this. Who would you like to pass the raka on to next?
To Trevi.
Kia ora tōku hoa. Ngā mihi, I may sound a bit stilted. The room I'm in, I think the bar's on too, but heoi. Love hearing that, Priya, and especially about that feeling that in the environment and really feeling in tune and plugged in. I had a similar experience. It was actually a couple of weeks ago. A cousin of mine was doing a memorial walk for a friend who worked at the uni and passed away a year ago. So we actually, and I didn't know him, but we actually walked the walk that he did. And before the walk, we had a karakia, and we were standing out at the Waikato Uni, old university, not that flash pub, old one. And I looked to my right, and I saw this beautiful rako there with 3 birds in the tree, and I thought, oh, don't do that. Don't walk over there. And I started walking over while the ropu's over here, ready for karakia. And I actually heard the melody of those 3 manu, and they took turns to give their wāta. And then I felt prompted to wāta with them. And I was going, I'm really spacing it out. But I feel more in tune and aligned with and plugged in, as you say, Priya, to these things. And I'm noticing lots of things. So my pūtorino is becoming a very almost like my extension of my arm. Okay, kia ora. Huri te rākau kia. Adele, tōku hoa, Adele.
Kia ora, Trevi. I just started my pūrongo journey. But anyway, not that I was playing, but we did a puke hina 5 o'clock in the morning with our tamariki, kaiako, with Hutātara, and the airiness of it all are actually on the site. You would swear that there was like 100 warriors as such in that space, because you couldn't see anybody. All you could actually hear was karakia through the whole walk. So that lasted for about 40 minutes. And just taonga puoro, just different ones. Not that it was in tune to the actual environment, to the manu, but that it was in tune to where we actually were, to the spirit of it all and to the context. It's a really amazing airiness to making it real.
Kia ora, awesome, Adele. That's just to add on to that, just quickly, whānau, when we went over to I went over to Monte Cassino, and it was a commemoration of the Māori battalion over in Italy, and in the Urupa there, some of our people, we had pūrerehua. We went to pūrerehua and Pūtātara, and we were there in 2014, and some of our wahine who were doing karanga said that they could hear karanga as well before they did karanga, and I thought, okay, that's pretty mind-blowing. But there was actually a place in Egypt as well that our army had been to, and one of the guys who was there had been on a deployment over to another urupa over in Egypt, and the same thing happened. One of our wahine got out from the defence force, got out of the bus, and she did the karanga way before everyone actually got off the bus. Her karanga first was to call to the whenua, and she said she heard the karanga coming back to her from those, those kind of things there. These are all in te ao puoro for us as Māori, where we these wairua experiences can happen quite often, and especially with our kaikaranga. Our kaikaranga, our wahine, are able to access another zone of the oro, and even their karanga that comes from the puna roimata, which is that pool of tears that's inside of us. There's another sound there. So why I'm saying that is that quite often when we're playing our puoro, even as tāne, we are trying to connect the hine, the hine side of our puoro into also that puna as well for the tangi. And you'll hear this kind of vibration coming out of the puoro from even a tāne. It's not the tāne, it's the reo of the karanga that's coming through it. So yeah, tēnā koe. Send that raka on whānau.
Kia ora, Victoria.
Kia ora, Adele. Last year at Kura, we had a teacher whose job it was, you have to help me out with the kupu here. I knew it, but he helped kids with wood carving. Someone say it?
Whakairo.
Whakairo. Yeah, he was the whakairo teacher. And Mātua Uekaha was his name. And there was a showing of the students' mahi, and they'd made pukaya. And when it was shown, even just seeing it and seeing every detail that every tauira had put into their individual pōro I cried, I was just like, it was so interesting to see an object so tied to its person. And then when they played it, I was just absolutely overcome. I think that was quite something for me. I was like quite shook in a beautiful way. Yeah. Pass it on to Ben.
Kia ora, thank you. Thank you for all these awesome words, by the way. For me, I was just taking a walk around school, and we're lucky enough that we have a bit of a ngāhiri at the back, and some native birds, and there was a tui just kind of flying around, being very central, kind of slightly following me. And weirdly enough, in my pocket, I had a small piece of bamboo, the knot. And I had actually sanded the inside of it to make it as a karanga weka, and I didn't actually even know it was in there. And then I started playing and interacting with that tui, and that was actually really, really cool. Just kind of being able to interact with it, and it stayed around for we were just, I was just tutu with the karanga weka, not really using it too much beforehand or knowing how to use it. But it was just so cool having that little experience just at that time with myself as well. There was no one around. It was during when everybody else was in class, but I needed to just go for a bit of a walk just to clear my brain. And that was just a really, really cool experience, enlightening for me. So yeah. And to Stephen.
Kia ora. I think one of the most interesting assignments I did at uni, which relates to this, is recreating a soundscape or a sound, like all the sound for a movie scene. for my audio degree. And it's not until you have to do something yourself that you kind of realize how much you haven't paid attention to it before that. And so it wasn't just the biophony, but also geophony and the other one, which is hard to say, anthropophony, which is like the human sounds. And then the geophony is like the wind and the water and like the non-biological sounds. And so crafting all those together and going, well, what actually makes the background kind of soundscape that we just are so used to tuning out? But it really connects you to like the earth and to like what's happening around you, and it forces you to stop relying on sight so much and actually start to hear all of the things around you. Like I remember we would record room noise, which is just literally the sound of nothing happening in a room, and it was kind of mind-blowing to me because I'd never heard of that concept before. But it's like without it in a movie, it just sounds so like lifeless, but then you add in that room noise and it kind of brings it to life. So that was really cool, and it connected me to a lot of things, and I can't stop hearing it now, like, which is awesome because then you are actually connected to the earth in a better way. So kia ora. Who hasn't had a turn yet? Pāpua, have you been?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I used to go to pig hunting with my dad. And so he'd have this big truck, and so we'd get right into the bush, and it was really the sounds that you could hear. My dad used to sit on the back of the truck with me because I was, only little. He would have all these different whistling sounds for the dogs. So the dogs would jump off the truck and they'll run side by side, and he'll have a bit of a whistle, and then the dogs will take off into the bush, and then would sit on the back of the truck and just wait, and then he'll make a different sound, and you hear the branches and that shuffling in the bush. So he knew exactly where they were, and you could hear the sound of the branches breaking, and so he'll know if they're to the left, that's where the dogs would be, and then he'll sort of make another whistle, and then go to the middle, and there'll be a pig somewhere in the middle there, and then you'd hear the squealing sound, and so he'll jump off and leave me there on the back of the truck, and so I used to try and mimic those sounds, and because he could almost speak to his dogs, because he grew up in the bush, he knew the bush like the palm of his hand, and this is the Kahukiwa forest bush, by the way, and so I used to try and mimic that, and then it was cool. It was cool growing up like that, and just listening to all the sounds of the birds and the rako breaking and snapping. You knew exactly where the animals were, its dogs were, and then he'll just race in and grab the pig and that and bring it back up onto the truck. Yeah, so that's my quarter about all this introduction to sounds, and that, and before that too. So and all the sounds of the birds. My brothers used to mimic the sound of the tui, all the different types of birds, and I used to sit there and listen, trying to mimic that. Those sounds, could never do what they could do, but it was like they could speak to the birds as well. So yeah.
Whānau, these stories coming through us are really awesome. Like, we've got with Ben talking about how his, hearing the tui, and he's in that karanga weka, or karanga manu, we sometimes call it actually, because karanga weka was actually obviously made to capture weka. And if you don't know what weka sounds like, go online and have a look. There's always the recordings of manu. So I would start off, for instance, with young people and go through. So RNZ actually recorded a lot of the bird noises quite a while ago, and that's available on YouTube. And I'd go in and I'd get the kids to start identifying the manu by playing the sound to them, going, what sound is this? Start off with the ones that they think they might know, like kiwi, hine ruru, or the ruru. Because the ruru makes different sounds herself, Wākoluhu, because we call her hine ruru, really, the one that's at night time. And hine ruru isn't just a now up north they don't say ruru, they say kōkō. So the name of the owl up north is called kōkō. K-o-u, k-o-u, kōkō, kōkō. Down through the south, ruru. Depending on how, so this is a big thing in te ao Māori. is depending on how we heard them is how we'd say it. Where I'm from, we call kereru. Some people call rupe, and some people call kukupa. Yeah, so there's different names for our manu too. Sometimes it's to do with the sounds that our people hear, okay? So I'd play those bird sounds if you aren't already doing that and start testing them on it, and then get into start emulating those sounds on either puoro, anything. Who cares if they can't do it perfectly? It's about them having a go and realising that their first language is te reo taiao. Tēnā koe. Thank you, Miha. As my kids going swimming, they're all happy now, they've got someone to pick them up. The day's been saved. Bye, Miha. That's my 14-year-old girl. That's the one I was going to have to pay the price with the dearest if I didn't take her tonight. So, quite often people know about, Hine Rauka Tauri. They know about the atua of... People think that Hine Rauka Tauri is actually the atua of Taonga Puoro. She's not. He atua. She's the natua of certain rangi that we have that come from the ngahere. Hine Rauka Tauri, though, if we want to do some deeper investigation into her, we're going to go into the story of Tinirau. Where I'm from, down in Rotorua, we have Te Motu Tapu a Tinirau. That's the name of the island in the middle of Lake Rotorua. Some people call it Mokoia, which is more of a modern name. But the old name is Te Motu Tapu a Tinirau. Tinirau basically had a whale. And this particular character called Kai, Kai. Oh, sorry, I'm just gonna, the kids are all going swimming. I'll just take 1 second here so I can just sort this out. Just hold it there on Tinirau and Kai. Got extra kids here now, ka poi. So, Tinirau and Kai. And Kai actually had discovered this huge pet called Tutunui. And Tutunui is a huge whale, a tohora, a whale. Now, what happened is, if you go follow the story of Kai, Tinirau, and you're going to be able to read it online, is the start of what we call Te Whare Tapere. And I'm going to write that down inside of our chat. First of all, this is what we're doing today. We're practicing our oral skills and developing our listening repertoire. Tinirau and Kai. And the whale Tutunui. Here's different names, but this story is known throughout Ngā Tangata or Te Moana Nui a Kiwa. Quite a lot of our people of Te Moana Nui a Kiwa know this story. And, well, I should have put Kai as a capital letter. Well, anyway, Kai found out about this whale Tutunui, and he talked to Tinirau, and he said, after they'd been over in the islands where Tinirau is from, Kai said, hey, I would like to ride Tutunui home. So Kai did a karakia, Tinirau did a karakia to allow Tutunui to approach Kai, and Kai jumped on Tutunui's back, and Tutunui took him back to his islands. When they got over there, Kai clubbed him pretty much to death, and then they ate Tutunui. Because Tutunui never finished the mission and came back to Tinirau, Tinirau started to suspect something was up. And he suspected that Kai had eaten him. He could smell Tinirau could smell Tutunui cooking through the air. He could actually smell the acrid smell of his pet whale who'd been eaten. To investigate it, people went and asked what happened, and Kai denied all responsibility and said he didn't know what happened. But Kai also had teeth missing. He had some teeth missing. And some of the whale meat was found with funny teeth marks in it. That was the first part of it. The next part of it was that we have in the carving style of Te Ao Māori in Whakairo, we have a style called Taratara a Kai. And it's this kind of, if you have a look at Taratara a Kai, which I'll put in here, Taratara a Kai, this is a certain carving design. And what it is, it emulates the broken teeth of Kai as he ate into Tutunui. And the people of Whānau Apanui, this is one of their well-known patterns, and it comes from the story. This story was the start of a place where we call Te Whare Tapere, which is where Taonga Pūoro really sit inside of the Whare Tapere, which is, we call it the House of Entertainment. The House of Entertainment. Now, to go and find out what Kai had really done, a war party was sent out of Wahine. Hine Keira, you might have heard of. Hine Keira. Anyone know about Hine Keira? You can look up her. She was the assassin. When warriors go out onto the pakanga, onto the warfare, onto the battleground, the tāne go out first. Taiaha, patu, mere, tifa tifa, au whenua, all those type of weapons, they'll go out, and as the one-on-one skirmishes happen, those who are left on the ground, close to death, the enemy group who took them down at that point, hine keira, they would enact hine keira, and the wahine would go out and they'd finish off those men on the battlefield with certain techniques that they had. They had other weapons, and they'd finish off those men on the ground, and that was Te Mahi o Hine Keira. Hine Keira was known to be one of this war party that went out. Two other people that went out, one of them was called Hine Rau Katamea. She was one of the 7 that was sent out by Tini Rau to go and approach Kai. Their job was to be an entertainment party to try and get Kai to laugh, to see his teeth, to make sure it was him who had certainly bitten into this whale, the part of the whale meat that they'd found. The other one was, guess who? Hine Rau Katauri. So Hine Rau Katauri was now another one of the characters of the 7-woman war party who went out. What their job was to do was to make Kai be entertained and laughed, and in the end they ended up doing a dance which we would say in Te Ao Māori was highly sexual in nature, but of a very, very funny type, where Kai basically could not hold back his laughter, and as he laughed and his teeth were exposed, they knew that was him, and that's when they plotted that night, and they abducted Kai, took him back to the island where Tini Rau was, and those women took his life in Utu. Hei Utu. Now this is the start of the story of Hine Rau Katauri as a person as well, or as in the kōrero pūrākau o te moana nui a Kiwa, from the people of the Pacific Island. Remember how we said Pacific was a name planted over the top of te moana nui a Kiwa? So Hine Rau Katauri has another element to her. Yes, she is the goddess of moth music, goddess of the moth sound, but we must pay tribute to where she comes from within Te Whare Tapere, which is the House of Entertainment. When we talk about whakapapa, this is what we must know with our pūoro. We must know the whakapapa of where these names come from. Cool. Does anyone have any? There's a lot I just gave you there. Do you have any questions about that? It was just an introduction, but I do encourage you to do your own research on this. A good place to ask is with Charles Royal, or Te Ahu Karamu Royal. And he's another one of the knowledge holders of Te Whare Tapere, and he's the one who taught me about Tini Rau and Kai. Yes. But some people say she's the atu of dance.
Okay.
Yeah, so Hine Rau Katauri. If you look at the kata, that's eyes or face, kata. Mea means red. Hine Rau Katamea. Hine Rau Katauri was the one of the dark countenance, and she was the one of sound and music and singing in that group. They're sisters. Yeah, any other patoa you have around this part of the pūoro, kōrero pūrākau?
Kia ora. My question is this: when we have these stories, do they are they linked? Like do you know what happens with the Hine?
As how does it link to this?
Yeah, like I'm sure there's lots of stories that include her.
But
But I guess I wondered if you could almost trace them in the lineage.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think for us as puoro, people who deem ourselves to be kaitiaki o ngā puoro, so to be a kaitiaki really means to take care of a taonga. That's what a kaitiaki is somebody who's been given the responsibility to look after a taonga. And that taonga could be the reo, that taonga could be whenua, it could be a lake, a river, it could be a maunga, it could be puoro itself. Kaitiakitanga is all about looking after taonga. So when we look at a name like Hinero Katauri, and we look at Pūrākau, we look after the whole taonga of them. So if some of our people were saying Hinero Katauri was part of this group of travellers that were sent by Tiniro to go and smoke out who was Kai. Right, that's a legitimate pūrākau that we have. But then we also have a pūrākau about Hinero Katauri being now the embodiment of the feminine inside of the pūtōrino. It's not uncommon for a human and a atua story to exist exactly alongside each other and to both have weight to them. We don't talk about what eras that they were, like what timelines that they might have been in. What we say is that the energy is transformed. So the energy transformed from an atua kōrero also into a human kōrero and back again, and they both have mana. And so as taonga puoro kaitiaki, we hold both stories, both pūrākau, and we say perhaps they're the same being, perhaps not. But the vibration that comes out of her name is what we care about. Which is very hard for when it comes to people from our Western science type of way of thinking, where we want to see everything with linear time construction that makes absolute sense to us. But we don't work in that realm. We work in the realm of this. Okay? And sound actually works in the realm of this too. Sound is not as linear as we think it is. It has definitely a start to it and it has a potential end to it, but only inside of human hearing. Because the sound that comes from puoro exists before I play this. Already in my mind I know this is going to sound like this. Hoo. When I play a saxophone, the sound exists inside of me before I blow the saxophone. The puoro exists before the event of making the sound happen. So it's already happening up in te pū, te more, te weu, te aka, what we just talked about the whakapapa before. That's very important for us in te ao Māori that we acknowledge that. Before I get too deep, because I do realise here where we're actually we're trying to inspire our rangatahi to get into music, but some of these pūrākau actually do inspire them. Some of these pūrākau help them to reach into a realm where they can't exist inside of the school as being their whole self. Some of our children who turn up are matakite. He aha te matakite? What is a matakite?
Someone who communicate beyond the background, is it? Beyond the ourselves.
Kia ora. Anyone else have a definition of what matakite is? Those kids are usually the ones that really fall through the cracks in the school system as well. So sometimes puoro can be a saving grace for them. It can be a way of describing the world that they're totally enveloped in, the one that they're immersed in. Puoro is a legitimate way of describing their world too. So that's why puoro can be very powerful for people who are matakite, because it goes beyond the veil. It goes their way of interacting goes through realms. And those realms aren't usually talked about in school. So when we talk about karakia, puoro, wairua, those three things there, that's something that's generally not really attached to school. And if we find that hard to understand, to be a school, which is a school that is a prayerful school, that gets isolated. So a Catholic school, an Anglican school, a school where religion is taught, is known as being a wairua type school, and there it has different has a different association with it. Certain kids will go there and certain kids won't go there. But to bring in karakia, wairua and puoro into any school can seem a little bit uncomfortable, but for those kids it actually makes the day for them. it brings a sense of wholesomeness. So puoro is a really surface level beautiful activity we can do, but it's also a very deep activity too, and those ways should be entertained, opened up. Those doors should be opened up. Our matakite kids are the ones who see things. Our matakite kids are the ones who hear things. So matakite is not just about seeing, it's also about hearing. And I don't know if you've ever been in a room and experienced a child or a person who hears way more than you can. It's overwhelming for them. Puoro can be an expression of that. Now, what we're going to do is practicing our oral skills right now. Is I want you now for, if you can make things go quiet in your background, and I'll stop talking too. I want you now for probably 30 seconds, we're going to do a few breaths, and then I just want you to be quiet, and I want you to describe after that what you hear inside of yourself. Okay, your oral skills are going to be what is inside of you. Okay, so we're going to do a thing called, I'm going to bring the words up first. This word here, ngā whakaroto. Yeah, say it, ngā whakaroto. That's the breath in the nose. And then we have ngā whakawaho out the nose, or hā whakawaho out the mouth. So we're going to do ngā whakaroto, then ngā whakawaho in the nose, out the nose. Ngā whakaroto, ngā whakawaho. Ngā whakaroto, ngā whakawaho. Oh. Okay, one more, ngā whakaroto, ngā whakawaho. Now I just want you to spend some time, hear what you can hear inside of you, whānau. Experiment too, where you can block your ears, and block your nose, and just hear what happens when you block your ears. Okay, whānau, let's come back. Hoki mai ki te ao marama. I'd just be interested to hear what experience you just had then. I would like to, did anyone hear anything inside of them they can describe?
Things got really noisy when I closed my ears, and I could hear my joints. It was really noisy. I could hear my joints. Okay, and my face was moving. I don't know if that's a good thing. This sort of swallowing and just being more conscious of that, so I started swallowing more. And a bit of a no tummy grumble. I think I'm a bit hungry. But surprised at how noisy it was.
Ka pai, kia ora Priya. Anybody else? Do we ever hear nothing?
I think so.
What else did anyone else hear inside of their body?
I've got lots of shouting in this house, but I reckon I can hear like the blood rushing through my ears, and there's something nice about feeling alive and connected to your body, especially if you're someone that doesn't usually feel connected to your body.
Kia ora, Victoria. I do encourage later on, maybe when it's quiet and you maybe go to bed, just try the same exercise again. Well, I don't know if the exercise is just living, isn't it? Just try living again and this way and listening in. We're having a real close listening. What are you, Adele? What did you experience?
When I put my fingers in my ears, it's a pumping or a heartbeat, because everything else is shut off.
Beautiful. And from a music making point of view, we already have our rhythm, don't we? Like everything that we do, you know, if we're not composing or we're not creating from the point of view of who we are of our body, the first point of listening, and we can't even describe that and that subtlety that's there, that's the first thing that we can inspire, because that's yours, that's the kids, that's theirs, you know? Rapua, he kōrero tai.
I have a really strong heartbeat. And every time my husband sleeps next to me, he says, if I can't hear it, there's something wrong. So, yeah, so it is pretty strong. So, yeah, it's what I can hear. And then it feels like I can hear the blood rushing through my tinana. So, yeah, that's a good sign.
Yeah. Stephen, are you still here with us, Ehua?
Yeah,
I'm still here.
I could just hear it, just came back to the breath and how centering that is. And yeah, the embodiment. Beautiful. It's always, yeah, in the busy days, it's always a wonderful experience to do that. Take the time.
Ben, what about yourself? You?
Oh yeah. For me, my breathing, so I got one nostril that's currently blocked. But interestingly enough, I also heard your poterino that you played a while back, still singing and still moving in its direction, which I thought was really cool. I was like, wow, this is, and then trying to see where it will go from there, and trying to guess, but also it actually was going, its own course. Yeah.
Ka pai te whānau. Okay, so what I hear is thousands of crickets. Thousands of them, like a beautiful chorus of crickets and it's constant. Sometimes, depending on how my nervous system is, that sound will raise up higher, and sometimes it'll go down a lot lower, but they're always there. Now, I think some people worry about that sound and they think they have ringing ears. But from a perspective of this changes, as my energy changes, this sound changes. So if I go into the ngahere, when I'm filtering the ngahere sounds, they actually come through this first. Or if I put my fingers in my ears, I can hear the sounds of my body too. So the very first practice is to try and hear the ngahere through yourself. Not through putting a microphone there and listening to the ngahere and going, there we go, I can hear bees in the forest, or I can hear the sound of birds singing, I can hear the sound of the rustling, the ngā ehe ehe, that's the sound for rustling in the forest, as the Rapu was talking about, going pig hunting her father, and she can hear the bush rustling. That kupu is ngā ehe ehe, and it's a nice sound. Like,
can you type that quickly for us, Ellie?
Yeah, I will. That's a wonderful kupu. It means rustling, and you can have a look in the Te Aka online dictionary and probably find that kupu. But the beautiful thing about that kupu is it has the word ngā. Ngā is the in breath. Has the word ngā, which is part of maunga. Has the word ngā, which is part of ngahere. So they all have an association with being in the taia of these type of kupu. Ngā ehe ehe. Rustling, rubbing together. Before you hear all that, we have to be able to hear it through ourselves. With our own sounds connected into that. So that's being real connection with Puoro. Now those notes only last as long as our breath is. So the practice of puoro is trying to get a note. Now get our children to try and blow long notes. The same as with the saxophone, the trumpet, the trombone, playing long tones. Long tones on puoro is very important. That's about now being really conscious of your breath. See how long you can go. Get the kids to do that and do it maybe 10 times and see what happens on their 10th breath if they can go longer and longer and longer. Holding those long notes out is really good. It's great for the breath. It's great for the whole system as well, so it becomes a part of our whole water. Playing this sound. Changing dynamics, just as we do in Western music. Going from pianissimo up to forte, up to double forte if we want to. For the realm, now when we're talking about double forte, of course, we're not talking about double forte for a trumpet. We're probably talking about more getting up to probably mezzo forte for a puoro, really. But trying to find the dynamics. For yourself, play longer notes. Listen to the sound, okay? So when we're talking about the oral skills and developing it, get your puoro that you're into and try and make a pure note. If you're sounding a lot of ear, more ear than sound, how are you going to refine it? Do you change your embouchure a little bit? Your lips? Do you bring them a little bit less? So your body and the puoro that you have cannot be taught by anyone else except yourself. You have to make the relationship with it. So the oral skills that you want to be trying to encourage with our tamariki, if they get a shell, keep going until that little sound starts coming, and then try and make that sound more and more pure over time. It's an exercise in patience. Some of the people we can listen to. Now, who has any recommendations now for taonga puoro recordings that you have? We'll put them into the chat if you have any, okay? And we'll share them here. And those who are listening or watching online, we can just call these out, okay? There are a few places I would go. I would go and look at Haumanu on their website. And these are some resources that I'm sure that means that already have. And if not, we can compile these all together. So Haumanu will have collections, and they'll have links to some of their webinars or some of the what do you call them, podcast talks that have been going on. This is mainly people talking about the puoro themselves. You'll learn some beautiful, new ways of looking at it. But there's also some recording artists there. Jerome Kavanagh has his own group, and that's called Oro Atua, his sound. Oro Atua. And you can find that on, I don't know if everyone here uses Spotify, but I know it's on Spotify. So start listening to the sounds. Start getting the kids, the same thing, just zone them out. Turn the lights off if you have to in the class, or darken the room, whatever, and have a beautiful listening experience for matariki perhaps. Put on some songs that are waiata that have been composed, which are actually composed for matariki or for ngā whetū, for the stars at this time. Just get them to actually have a listen and see what it does, and then get them to write about that afterwards. What kind of journey did that take them on? But to really craft the journey, that's what pūrākau are for, is telling a story first of all, and then having sound and see where they go with it. There's another artist, apart from obviously Horomona's got recordings out there too. I'm not going to put Horo's name in here because you already know Horo and you can find his. There's another friend of ours, and his name is Rob Thorne. Rob has some really cool videos on YouTube of him playing things like Putorino and Pukai inside of tunnels, and trying to get different sonics. I travelled to Finland with Rob, and Rob was a wanted man over there. So a lot of the instrumentalists over in Finland who come from New York, who come from England, who come from Finland themselves, wanted a piece of Rob, and they want to record with him because he just makes great recording. So if you go on Spotify and look under Rob Thorne, Taonga Puoro, you might be able to find some of his mahi there too. I'm pretty sure he's uploaded it all to there, because I've got some of his recordings on Spotify at least. And beautiful, very, very breathy, very breath enhancing. with the puoro happening with them, and they do something to your system. So he's another puoro artist. There's Ia, which is another group that's out there. I think it's Ia, isn't it? There is, I think it's Kahurere. Yeah, Keel Kaski, definitely. And Keel's got some great recordings of him singing, and his clay. He makes ones out of uku clay. And you can actually purchase Keel's mahi too, you know, like he makes commissions, or he makes uku, but I think he's starting to try and make them now for schools. So Keel's one of my mates up here in Whangare. And we just did actually a gig in the weekend at Hihio at the Cultural Centre here, and Keel was telling me about some of the projects he's doing at the moment. So he's trying to put puoro into schools through uku. So he's another person you could talk to and see what kind of package he might have available for schools. Great. That's a good start. To play puoro, listen to puoro. To be a great singer, listen to great singers. To be a guitarist, listen to guitarists. It's no different. You have to try and get the sound infused into here. Okay, anyway, that's some of my tips. What about your tips? What do you have? What's helped you? We don't have to be experts on this, but what's helped you on your journey for puoro at the moment? Any recommendations you have out there, or things you might even be aspiring to do?
Kia ora. Well, I'm passionate about kapahaka, and so I would watch the top groups of Matatini, and been a part of the organisation for Manakuratahi for national comps, regional comps here in Tauranga, our hapu iwi competitions, Mātātua regionals and that. So I like to watch the top groups, so that if I have to tutor any of the kids, like I'm tutoring now because we can't find kapahaka tutors, they really hard to come by. I've had to tutor now because yeah, they're just too difficult to find. But I like to watch the top haka groups and see what their messages are, because through all the waiata tira, the coral, and the haka, and the mōtetea, I love mōtetea. There's a lot of underlying messages, and it could be political messages to the government or to Te Ao Māori. And so my top groups are Te Whānau Apanui, who are over at the Pacific Testpac, Ruatahuna, Kākahu which is where I'm from too, Tauira Mai Tawhiti is another one on the East Coast, and OMT, or Potiki Mai Tawhiti. They're like my top groups that I would watch, and watch right through from the beginning to the end. And so that's like a 25 to 30 minute bracket, and it's just so, even the kids, I get them to watch the kapahaka, so everything is like we all zone out, so all the blinds go down, the lights are off when kapahaka's on, and they know that, and the door's locked. so that we can all sit there and we watch as a whole class and watch the top groups when it comes to the Mātātua and the Matatini kapahaka competitions. So it's like, yeah, we just have that whole day, and then we love to wait for the end. If I rush home, I miss some of the a couple of brackets at the end, teams at the end. I would rush home just to hear who's won, and then too late, somebody's put it up on Facebook. So but that's what I'm passionate about, is the kapahaka, and yeah, and seeing all the whānau all up there doing what they do best.
Beautiful, Rapua, and hopefully you can help to be a bridge between more people in kapahaka, using puoro in the future by the kids that you're inspiring right now with their kapahaka that they're learning off you, their passion, but actually like helping them to start weaving more of the puoro into that, because that's where we're heading. We're heading with more puoro being on the atamira out there. I've added some more names in here. I've got Te Kahurere, and I put one of her songs in there, and that song is called Orongonui. I'm pretty sure that's the one that she's got lots of beautiful puoro on there too, but she's another great artist out there. James Webster, of course, one of the masters, and Warren Warbrick. These two are high up there been in haumanu for many years and done a lot of service. I'd say that there are people who their acts of service inside of Te Ao Puoro is just second to none. There's some of them. There's also Alistair Fraser down in Wellington, and Al makes beautiful instruments along with Sam Palmer. They're makers. Sam's not so much of a player, but he's definitely a great maker. He actually is a player. He just doesn't describe himself as that. But Al is also a player and a maker down in Wellington. There's a few out there, but there's some good recordings, and I really recommend you have a listen to these artists here. I'll say them again for those online. We have Jerome Kavanagh with Oro Atua. We have Rob Thorne, and these can be found online. It's Thorne. Just put Rob Thorne Taonga Puoro, mate, and you'll find it. We have obviously Horomona Horo, and he's got many recordings everywhere. He's not just his own solo ones. He's also with groups with like Macy Rika and other groups out there. You'll find Horo, and he's in movie credits. He told us the movie he was in, Planet of the Apes, just recently. We have Keel Kaski as well. So Keel is a uku artist. We have Te Kahurere, James Webster, Warren Warbrick. These are great ones to start off with. We have Ariana Tikao from down in South Island as well. She's been around in the Puoro scene for a very long time, and another artist. Yeah. Star Walker Dub. Oh, nice. Yeah, Ruby Solly, Kapai, Kia ora. Awesome. Oh, yes, and we have Alien Weaponry, of course. That was actually Horomona. Horomona did some of those recordings with Alien Weaponry too. Gillian Whitehead, Kia ora. There we go. We've got a lot of good names in there too. Some Puoro to listen to for our whānau out there. So that'll be your assignment this week. We'll bring back one waiata Puoro that you've listened to for next week's one that you can share inside of our chat there, so we can get some resources, and tell us what you liked about that waiata. How was it touching for you, or what do you like about the creation of it, the composition? Yeah. Cool with te whānau. Any more pātai around what we talked about around sound itself? We came up with a new word today, fair. Fair. What I would say to you, whānau, is fair is when you close your ears off and you hear this sound. If we all were to describe the sound that we all hear apart from the heartbeat, there's actually this one sound that runs through everything. We call that te whē. Yep, some people from more the Sanskrit speaking cultures call that Om. They call that sound Om.
Amazing.
The Sufi people call that the Hu. We call it te whē. It's a sound that runs through everything. Okay? And being humans in different parts of the world, it makes sense that the vibration will be slightly different. So cultures, indigenous cultures, all find this primordial sound that runs through everything. So there we go, whānau. That's the basis of our oro.
Kelly, is that that you said earlier, is that on a shared board?
I'll put it onto our Miro board, eh? Yeah.
Is that one that's good to use with kids or teachers?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's actually a waiata that goes, ko te pu te more te weu te a ka te rea. Rapua's got the mahi a ringa right now. Ko te pu te more te weu te a ka te rea. Ko te wao nui te kune te whē te kore te pō. Ki ngā tangata Māori nā rangi raua ko papa. Ko tēnei te timatanga o te ao. Ko tēnei te timatanga o te ao. We'll sing it together at the end. It goes, tai, rua, toru. Ko te pu te more te weu te a ka te rea. Ko te wao nui te kune te whē te kore te pō. Ko ngā tangata Māori nā rangi raua ko papa. Ko tēnei te timatanga o te ao. Ko tēnei te timatanga o te ao, tihe Māori ora. That waiata there, so that's our karakia to finish off. That waiata there can be found online. You can actually put in te pū, te more waiata. And there's a really good version by Manu Korewha. Manu Korewha, and he's one of the ones who helped to develop these mahi aringa, these actions that go with it. Manu Korewha, his name is. Wuramu Sarich probably has a version out there too, where he'll teach you the mahi aringa. Our legend Wuramu. Yeah, any more pātai about that, Priya?
No, that's beautiful. Thank you.
It's a good way for the kids to learn the kupu too, via that waiata for the karakia, and then done as a karakia, it's o ko te pū, te more, te weo, te akatere a te wao, nui te kune, te whē, te kore te pō, ko ngā tangata Māori nā rangi rawa ko papa, ko tēnei te timatanga te ao tihe Māori ora. That'll be used as like a karakia as well. And that really enacts a lot of energy, you know.
It's lovely way of framing things around energy and Horo. Starting.
Yeah, I believe so too. So that's Māori Marsden. If you want to find out more about the tohunga Māori Marsden, this comes from his, I'd say it's his cosmogony. Some say cosmology, but I don't even know the difference. I just said that to try and act flash, but I don't really know. Cosmogony.
Is that in the woven universe?
Yeah, you'll be able to find this in the Woven Universe too, which are the writings that Te Ahu Karamu Charles Royal collated, put together from Māori's different teachings. Yeah. Ka pai. Kia ora te whānau. That's us for the week. Next week, I'm not sure if Horo will be back, but I will definitely not be taking my kids swimming. Ka pai. Oh. Anyway, mauri ora ki a tātou. A te rā wiki. Kia ora te whānau.